The millionaire widower could no longer bear it, until the nanny whispered what no one else had the courage to say. Subscribe to the channel and comment where you are watching from. The bell of St. John's Church echoed through the cobblestone streets of Savannah as Gabriel Anderson opened his eyes once again at 5 in the morning. It wasn't the ancient bronze that woke him, but the deafening emptiness that had settled in his colonial house exactly 93 days ago. 93 days since Sarah had left, taking not only the love of his life, but also the voice of his daughter Emma. The house on Maple Street, a 1750 construction that he had lovingly restored, now felt like a mausoleum. The sandstone walls, which once reflected laughter and affectionate conversations, now only returned the echo of his lonely footsteps across the hardwood corridors. Gabriel got out of the queen-sized bed where he had been sleeping alone since March, when a sudden pneumonia took Sarah in just a week. "Daddy!" The voice didn't come. It never came anymore. Gabriel descended the creaking stairs, passing by the Baroque shrines that Sarah had collected, now covered by a fine layer of dust he didn't have the courage to remove. In the kitchen, he brewed coffee in the blue ceramic pot Sarah always insisted that coffee from a pot tasted better, and looked out the window at the backyard where the dogwoods spilled their purple flowers over the irregular stones of the colonial floor. "Good morning, Mr. Gabriel." Mary's voice broke the silence at exactly 7 o'clock, as it had every day since she arrived to care for Emma. Mary Johnson was 50 years young, with grey hair always tied in a neat bun, and honey-colored eyes that seemed to hold ancient secrets. She wore simple floral dresses, comfortable low-heeled shoes, and carried a brown leather bag that never left her arm. "Good morning, Mary. The coffee's in the pot." Gabriel couldn't hide the hoarseness in his voice. Sleeping little was becoming a habit. "And the girl? Is she still sleeping?" Mary hung her bag on the chair at the oak table and served herself coffee, discreetly observing her employer's tired features. "She woke up at 5, as always. She's been drawing in bed until now." Gabriel ran his hand through his disheveled brown hair. At 38, he looked much older. The wrinkles around his green eyes had deepened since March, and his stubble was constant. She drew you yesterday." Mary nearly dropped her cup. "Drew? What do you mean?" "A drawing of you in the backyard, watering the plants. Very detailed, very precise." Gabriel pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. "Sometimes I feel like she sees things I can no longer see." Silence settled between them, broken only by the ticking of the wall clock, an 18th-century piece that Gabriel had personally restored. Mary sipped her coffee slowly, studying the man before her. She knew that kind of pain. She had cared for other grieving families in the colonial homes of the historic district. But there was something different in this house, something she still couldn't name. "Mr. Gabriel, may I say something?" Mary set her cup down and leaned slightly forward. "Of course. The girl. She hasn't stopped talking out of stubbornness or common trauma. She's saving her words for when she feels she can trust again." Mary spoke slowly, choosing each word carefully. "And you are also saving yours." Gabriel stared at her for a long moment. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean that since I got here, I've never heard you speak about Mrs. Sarah. Not with Emma, not with me, she hesitated, "not even with yourself." "Mary, I don't think that—" "Just listen." The interruption was gentle but firm. "Yesterday, when I picked up Emma from school, the teacher told me that Emma handed in a drawing of a woman with long, wavy hair, wearing a floral blue dress. When they asked who it was, she wrote on the paper, 'Mommy in Heaven.'" Gabriel felt his chest tighten. The floral blue dress was Sarah's favorite for Sunday Mass at St. John's Church. "And what am I supposed to do?" The question came out harsher than he intended. "How do I talk about someone who is no longer here? How do I explain to a 7-year-old that her mother is gone forever?" Mary slowly stood up and walked to the window that overlooked the backyard. Outside, the dogwoods swayed in the cool morning breeze. "You know, Mr. Gabriel, I've worked in many houses here in Savannah. Old houses, traditional families, people who carry stories for centuries." She turned to face him. And I learned one thing: the dead don't leave. They stay in the walls, in the scents, in the objects, in the memories. The question is whether we will let them become ghosts or guardian angels. At that moment, light footsteps descended the stairs. Emma appeared in the kitchen, still in her pajamas, her light brown hair tousled and her huge blue eyes, exactly like her mother's. She carried a sketchbook under her arm and went straight to Mary, enveloping her in a silent hug. Gabriel watched the scene with a heavy heart. His own daughter, who used to run into his arms every morning, now greeted him only with a distant wave. "Good morning, Princess." Mary patted the girl's hair. "How about a cinnamon roll with butter and a hot chocolate?" Emma nodded and headed to the table, opening her sketchbook. Gabriel saw colorful scribbles, human figures, houses, flowers. And there, in the middle of it all, the drawing of 3 people holding hands in front of a blue house, a complete family that no longer existed. "Emma," Gabriel tried, his voice coming out softer than usual. Do you want to talk about the drawings?" The girl looked at him for a moment, then shook her head negatively and returned her attention to the notebook. Mary observed everything in silence while preparing the hot chocolate in the iron pot. She'd already noticed the details that Gabriel did not see, the letters piled on the living room table that he did not have the courage to open, the couple's bedroom door that had remained closed for days, the portraits of Sarah turned face down on the shelf in the living room. "Mr. Gabriel," she said, stirring the hot chocolate slowly, "what time are you opening the shop today?" Gabriel ran his hand over his face. "I don't know if I'm going to open. Yesterday there were very few customers, and I can't concentrate on the pieces." Anderson Antiques was located on Oak Street, one of the busiest streets in the historic downtown. For 3 generations, Gabriel's family had dealt in antiques, colonial furniture, silverware, and sacred art. It was a thriving business that Sarah had always supported, often helping with the cataloging of pieces and attending to the more demanding customers. "What if I went with you today?" Mary suggested, serving the hot chocolate to Emma. "I'll take the girl with me. She can draw in the shop while you work." "Mary, I don't want to be a bother." "It's not a bother. It's a necessity." She interrupted him again, this time more firmly. "You need to start living again, and the girl needs to see her father living again." Gabriel fell silent, watching Emma take a bite of the cinnamon roll leisurely, completely absorbed in a new drawing. Suddenly she stopped eating and looked directly at him with those penetrating blue eyes that were just like Sarah's. For a moment, father and daughter stared at each other. Gabriel saw in her not only the physical resemblance to his wife, but also a premature maturity, a silent understanding of the pain they shared. And for the first time in 3 months, he felt that perhaps he was not completely alone in that house of ancient stones. "All right," he finally said. "We'll go to the shop today." Mary smiled discreetly as she washed the chocolate pot. She knew that this was just the first step of a long and difficult journey. But she also knew by intuition and experience that this family had the inner resources to rebuild itself. They just needed time, patience, and perhaps some secrets revealed at the right moment. The bell of St. John's Church rang again, marking 8 o'clock in the morning. Outside, Savannah was waking up to another day, with its residents climbing and descending the steep streets, carrying their personal stories through the roads that had seen centuries of human joys and tragedies. And inside the colonial house on Maple Street, 3 people were beginning to learn that life, even after the greatest of losses, insists on continuing. Anderson Antiques occupied a colonial 2-story building painted ochre yellow on Oak Street, with faded blue wooden windows and a wrought iron sign that swayed gently in the morning breeze. Gabriel opened the tempered glass door, one of the few modern concessions he had made to the historical facade. And the familiar scent of carnauba wax, old wood and incense enveloped him like a melancholic embrace. "Mary, could you turn on the lights, please?" Gabriel walked to the solid rosewood counter where the old cash register sat, a relic from the 1940s that he refused to replace with modern equipment. "Emma, do you remember where the back room is?" The girl nodded silently and followed the direction her father indicated, carrying her pink school backpack and her inseparable drawing notebook. Gabrielle watched her disappear among the shelves filled with Baroque saints, silver candlesticks, and carefully restored colonial furniture. "Has she always been this independent?" Mary asked while lighting the strategically placed lamps to highlight the most valuable pieces of the collection. "No." Gabriel opened the cash register drawer and counted the bills left from the previous day. Little money for a business that once thrived. Sarah always said that Emma was a girl who talked a lot. She told made-up stories, asked questions about everything, sang songs she created herself. Gabriel's voice trailed off as he looked at a framed photograph on the wall behind the counter. Sarah, Emma, and he in front of the shop on the reopening day after the last renovation. All smiles, all plans, all alive. "And now?" Mary approached, following his gaze. "Now she's an old child, as if she had locked all her words in a box and lost the key." Gabriel sighed deeply. "Sometimes I wonder if she blames me for Sarah's death. Why would she do that? Because I should have noticed earlier that Sarah was sick. I should have insisted she go to the doctor when she started with that cough. I should have—" Gabriel interrupted himself and shook his head. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking about this with you." Mary positioned herself in front of him, resting her hands on the rosewood counter. "Mr. Gabriel, may I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "Did you talk to Sarah about the illness before she died?" The question hit Gabriel like a punch in the stomach. He turned to the window, watching the tourists who were already beginning to walk the cobblestone streets in search of souvenirs and stories. "She didn't want to talk." The answer came low, almost whispered. "She said it was just a flu, that it would pass soon. Even when they admitted her, she insisted it was nothing serious, that in 2 days she would be home making cheese bread and telling stories to Emma." "And did you believe her?" Gabriel turned abruptly to Mary. "What do you mean?" "Mrs. Sarah was a history teacher, wasn't she? An intelligent, observant woman. She knew that sudden pneumonia doesn't just appear out of nowhere in healthy people." Mary spoke calmly, but her words carried a weight that Gabriel still couldn't fully comprehend. Before he could respond, the bell of the doorbell rang, and the first customer of the day entered the shop. He was a man in his 60s, well-dressed, carrying a brown leather briefcase. "Good morning. Is this Mr. Anderson?" The man approached the counter with a cordial yet calculated smile. "Yes, it is. How can I assist you?" "My name is Anthony Silver. I represent a collector from New York interested in colonial religious art from the 18th century. The man opened the briefcase and took out some photographs. "I've heard you have extraordinary pieces." Gabriel examined the photos, showing carved saints, ornate altarpieces, and antique silverware. "I do have some similar pieces. However, I need to verify the provenance and documentation of everything before any negotiations." "Naturally. My client is willing to pay above market value for authentic and well-preserved pieces." Silver placed a business card on the counter. "Could you set aside some options for me to show?" Gabriel picked up the card. "Expensive paper, elegant printing, an address in the Upper East Side. I'll need a few days to organize the inventory." "Perfect. I'll return on Friday if possible." After the man left, Mary approached Gabriel. "Looks like a good deal." "It does." Gabriel tucked the card away in the drawer, but his expression was thoughtful. "Sarah always said to be cautious with clients who come offering easy money right off the bat." "Did she understand the business?" "More than I did sometimes." Gabriel smiled for the first time that day. "She was the one who researched the history of the pieces, verified authenticity, catalogued everything. I restored, and she brought the stories to life." A noise from the back room interrupted the conversation. Gabriel and Mary walked toward the sound and found Emma sitting on the floor, surrounded by old books and scattered papers. She had knocked over a box that was on a tall shelf. "Emma, are you okay?" Gabriel knelt beside his daughter, checking to see if she was hurt. The girl nodded, but her eyes were fixed on a letter that had fallen open on the floor. Gabriel instinctively picked it up, but before he could put it away, he read the heading, "To my love, Gabriel, open only if something happens to me." Mary watched the scene in silence. Emma continued to stare at the letter as if she knew exactly what she had found. "Gabriel," Mary's voice was soft, "maybe it's time to read it." "No." Gabriel quickly folded the letter. "Not here. Not now." "Dad." Emma's voice was almost a whisper but audible. The first words she had spoken in months. Gabriel turned to his daughter, his eyes wide. "Emma, you spoke?" The girl nodded slowly and pointed to the letter. "Mom left it for you. How do you know that?" Emma opened her sketchbook and showed a page with a drawing of a woman writing at a table, surrounded by envelopes. In the corner of the page, written in the careful handwriting of a 7-year-old, Mom writing important letters. Gabriel felt his legs weaken. When did you make this drawing?" "Last night." Emma's voice was gaining strength. "I dreamed about Mom. She said you need to read the letters so you won't be sad anymore." Mary knelt beside both of them. "How many letters are there, Emma?" The girl flipped through the sketchbook and showed another drawing, a box full of envelopes, each with a word written on it: birthday, school, dating, marriage, longing. She knew. Gabriel whispered, more to himself than to the others. "Sarah knew she was going to die and didn't tell me. Maybe she wanted to protect you," Mary gently suggested. "Maybe she wanted the last moments to be filled with love, not goodbye." Gabriel looked around the back room, a space that Sarah used to study and catalogue pieces. The shelves were filled with art history books, notebooks in her handwriting, photographs of completed works. It was as if she was still there, organizing, researching, caring. "Can I take the letters home?" Emma asked, her voice now more firm. "Why?" "Because Mom said in the dream that some are for me too." Gabriel looked at Mary, who nodded encouragingly. "All right. Let's take everything home." The rest of the morning passed in a strange haze. Gabriel attended to a few more customers, but his mind was completely focused on the letters and the fact that Emma had started speaking again. Mary discreetly organized the scattered papers, separating what seemed personal from what was work-related. When lunchtime arrived, Gabriel closed the shop earlier than usual. The trio walked along the cobblestone streets toward the house on Maple Street, each lost in their own thoughts. "Mary," Gabriel said when they were at the door of the house, "can you stay for lunch? I think I'll need company to read these letters." "Of course, Mr. Anderson." Emma ran ahead, climbing the stairs toward the bedroom. Gabriel and Mary followed her, but when they reached the upper floor, they found the girl standing in front of the couple's bedroom door. The door that Gabriel had kept closed for 3 months. "Dad," Emma said, looking directly at him, "Mom wants you to open this door." Gabriel felt the air leave his lungs. "How do you know that?" "Because she's here." Emma pointed to the empty space beside the door. "She's always been here, waiting for you to be ready." Mary watched the interaction between father and daughter with a mix of emotion and understanding. She had witnessed many similar situations in other grieving families, but she had never seen a child so connected to the presence of a deceased loved one. Gabriel reached out a trembling hand to the golden doorknob. For 3 months, that simple gesture had been impossible. Now, with Emma speaking again and Sarah's letters waiting to be read, he felt it might be time to start facing the truth. The door opened. With a soft creak, the room revealed itself exactly as Sarah had left it, an unmade bed, clothes draped over the armchair, books open on the nightstand. Her perfume still lingered in the air, faint but present. And on the intricately carved dresser, a wooden box that Gabriel had never seen before, with a note stuck to the lid: "For when you are ready, with all my love, Sarah." The wooden box rested on the dresser like a vault of long-held secrets. Gabriel stared at it for long minutes, his hands trembling slightly as Emma and Mary remained in respectful silence behind him. Sarah's room preserved every detail of her presence. The novel by Machado de Assis, open to page 247 on the nightstand, the lavender perfume bottle with a few drops left, the cotton robe still hanging on the chair where she had left it that last morning. "It's just like my drawing," Emma whispered, flipping through her notebook until she found the sketch of the box she had made weeks earlier. "Mom showed it to me in a dream." Gabriel carefully picked up the box with reverent hands. It was an antique piece, probably from the early 20th century, with delicate carvings of flowers and birds on the lid. The weight suggested there were many papers inside. "Let's go down to the living room," Mary gently suggested. "Maybe it will be more comfortable there." In the living room, Gabriel placed the box on the rosewood coffee table, surrounded by the armchairs where the family used to gather on cold nights in Savannah. Emma settled next to her dad, while Mary prepared chamomile tea in the kitchen, sensing that everyone would need something soothing for what was to come. With hesitant fingers, Gabriel opened the box. Inside, dozens of envelopes organized by color and handwritten labels. For Gabriel, read first. For Emma, 8th birthday. For Emma, first day of school without me. For Gabriel, when you fall in love again. For both, Christmas without me. So many letters, Gabriel murmured, his voice choked. How did she have time to write all this? Mary returned from the kitchen, carrying a tray with tea, and discreetly sat in the opposite armchair. Mrs. Sarah was always very organized, wasn't she? Maybe she started writing when she received the diagnosis. What diagnosis? Gabriel turned abruptly to Mary. Sarah died of pneumonia. It was sudden. Mary exchanged a meaningful glance with Emma, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Mr. Gabriel, can I tell you something I found while cleaning her belongings? What did you find? Medical prescriptions hidden inside the history books. Medications for lung cancer. Mary spoke softly, but the words hit Gabriel like a physical blow. That's impossible. The doctor said it was pneumonia, that there was no way to foresee. The doctor said what Mrs. Sarah asked him to say. Mary gently interrupted. I also found a note with instructions she left for the hospital. She didn't want you to know the truth about her illness. Gabriel remained silent for a few minutes, processing the information. Emma took his hand and squeezed it gently. Dad, read the first letter. The girl pointed to the envelope marked, For Gabriel, read first. With trembling hands, Gabriel opened the envelope and unfolded the paper. Sarah's elegant cursive filled his vision. My love, Gabriel, if you are reading this letter, it means that some months have passed since I left, and that our Emma has started speaking again. Yes, I knew she would be silent for a while. I know our daughter better than anyone in this world. First, I need you to forgive me for hiding the truth about my illness. I discovered the cancer 6 months ago when you traveled to New York to buy that collection of colonial silverware. The doctors were clear. It was terminal, fast, with no possibility of cure. I had a choice. Spend our last months fighting a disease or live each day intensely alongside the people I love. I chose to live. Every morning I woke up and saw your face. Every story I told Emma before bed. Every Sunday we spent at the market eating pastries and drinking sugarcane juice. All of that was a gift I gave myself and to you. I didn't want those memories to be tainted by the shadow of impending death. Gabriel, you are the most honest and loving man I have ever known. You cared for me, loved me, and protected our family in every possible way. Don't blame yourself for not noticing my illness. I became an expert at hiding it. Now I need you to do something very difficult. I need you to keep living. Not just existing, but truly living. Emma needs to see that it's possible to be happy again, that life doesn't end when someone we love leaves. In the upcoming letters, you will find instructions for specific moments in your lives. Trust me, trust Mary. Yes, I know her longer than you imagine, and most importantly, trust yourself. With all my eternal love, Sarah P.S. The key to the safe at the bank is with Mary. There is enough money for you to live with dignity for the next few years, as well as funds for Emma's education. Don't worry about financial matters and focus on what really matters, being a father and being happy. Gabriel finished reading with tears streaming freely down his face. Emma nestled against him, and for the first time in months, father and daughter embraced truly. Mary, Gabriel said without letting go of his daughter, how did you know Sarah before coming to work here? Mary took a deep breath and set down her teacup. Sarah was my cousin, the daughter of my mother's sister. We lost touch when she moved to Savannah to marry you, but she reached out to me when she discovered her illness. Why didn't you tell me? Because she made me promise to only reveal the truth after you. Read her letters. Mary stood up and walked to the window that overlooked the garden. Sarah wanted to make sure you would understand her motivations before learning about our relationship. Gabriel looked at the other letters in the box. And these letters, do you know what's in them? Some? Sarah told me about the instructions for important moments in Emma's life, advice on how to cope with her pain, and Mary hesitated, guidance on when it would be appropriate for you to open your heart to a new love. What do you mean? Sarah knew you are a man made to love and be loved. She didn't want you to spend the rest of your life alone because of a misunderstood loyalty to her memory. Emma stepped away from the embrace and picked up another envelope from the box. This one is for me. Can I open it, Dad? Gabriel nodded, curious to know what Sarah had written to their daughter. Emma opened the letter and read aloud, with the careful diction of a 7-year-old. My little artist, if you are reading this letter, it means you have already discovered that you can talk to people who have passed on through your drawings. This is a special gift you inherited from your mom's family. Your great-grandmother also had this ability. I know you see me sometimes, especially when you are drawing. Keep drawing, my love. This is how you will help Dad feel better, and how you will keep our connection strong. There is an art studio here in Savannah, where special children like you can learn more about their talent. Ask Dad to take you there when you feel ready. The teacher's name is Marina, and she understands drawings that tell important truths. Always remember, when someone we love leaves this world, they do not disappear. They transform into pure love that stays in our hearts forever. Take care of Dad for me, but don't forget to be a child and play a lot. All my love, Mom. The silence that followed was different from the heavy silences of the past months. It was a silence of understanding, of revelations that finally made sense, of pain that was beginning to find a path to healing. Mary, Gabriel finally said, how long did you plan to stay with us? Sarah asked me to stay until you no longer need me. Until you start smiling again and Emma is safe and talking again. Gabriel looked around the room where so many happy memories had been built. The sandstone walls, the antique furniture, the Baroque altarpieces, everything felt different now, less heavy, less haunted by grief. And about this art teacher that Sarah mentioned, Marina Castle. She has a studio on Main Street. She is an extraordinary woman, a widow as well, who uses art to help children process loss and trauma. Mary returned to her armchair. Emma flipped through her sketchbook and showed a colorful sketch of a curly-haired woman teaching children to paint. That's her. I dreamed about her too. Gabriel took another letter from the box, one marked to Gabriel, about Emma and the drawings. This time, he read silently first, processing each word before sharing it with the others. Gabriel, our daughter has a special gift. She can access memories and feelings through art in a way that few adults can understand. It is not childish fantasy. It is a genuine sensitivity that must be nurtured and respected. Take her to meet Marina Castle. She will help Emma channel this ability in a healthy and productive way. And who knows, maybe she will help you find new forms of expression as well. Our daughter will be an incredible artist one day. It may not be the traditional path we imagined, but it will be the right path for her. Trust her. Trust her drawings. They will guide you when you don't know which direction to take. With love, Sarah. Mary, Gabriel said, carefully putting the letter away. Can you call this Marina tomorrow? I think it's time we start following Sarah's advice. Of course, Mr. Gabriel. Emma got up and ran to the window, where the golden afternoon light from Savannah poured into the room. Dad, can I draw us reading Mom's letters? You can, my daughter. You can draw anything you want. As Emma opened her sketchbook and began to sketch the family scene, Gabriel looked at Mary with a deep expression of gratitude. Thank you, he simply said, for everything. For coming, for taking care of her, for keeping Sarah's secrets until the right time. It was what she would have done for me if the situation were reversed. Gabriel picked up another letter from the box. This one marked "To Gabriel" about new beginnings, but he decided to save it for later. For today, there had been enough revelations. Outside, the bells of St. John's Church rang 5 in the afternoon, and for the first time in months, the sound did not bring melancholy, but rather the feeling that time was starting to move in the right direction again. Thursday morning brought a different atmosphere to the house on Maple Street. Gabriel woke up at 6 o'clock, not from the nightmares that had haunted him for months, but from the sound of Emma humming softly in the next room. It was a melody that Sarah used to sing while cooking, "Moonlight of the Sertome," and hearing his daughter reproduce it brought a mix of nostalgia and relief to his heart. Mary arrived promptly at 7, carrying a bag with fresh cinnamon rolls from Anthony's bakery and a lighter smile on her face. Since the revelations of the previous day, it seemed that a weight had been lifted from her shoulders as well. "Good morning, Mr. Gabriel. How did you sleep?" "Better." Gabriel poured coffee into the blue ceramic pot, a ritual that was becoming comforting. Emma slept through the night without waking up. "First time in months. And you?" Gabriel hesitated before answering. "I read 2 more letters from Sarah before bed. One about not being afraid to be happy again. Another about how to explain to Emma that it's normal to feel anger towards her mother for leaving." Mary nodded understandingly. "And did you manage to talk to her about it?" "Not yet, but I plan to today." Gabriel picked up a cup and offered it to Mary. "Did you manage to speak with that art teacher, Marina Castle?" "I spoke with her last night. She can see you this afternoon if you want. She said she was already expecting the call." "What do you mean?" "Mrs. Sarah had spoken with her a few months ago. She arranged everything, including payment for a whole year of classes." Gabriel shook his head, still impressed with the level of planning Sarah had done. "She really thought of everything." Emma came down the stairs at that moment, already dressed in a yellow dress that Sarah had bought for her last birthday. Her hair was styled in 2 braids, and she carried both her sketchbook and a small, colourful bag. "Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Mary." The girl's voice sounded stronger every day. "I dreamed about the art teacher again. She has a room full of paintings and magic brushes." Gabriel knelt to be at eye level with his daughter. "Emma, would you like to meet this teacher today?" "Yes." "And I want to bring my drawings to show her." Emma opened the sketchbook to a specific page. "This one is special." The drawing showed 4 figures: a tall man with dark hair, a small girl, an elderly woman with grey hair, and a translucent woman in a white dress, floating above the other 3. All the figures were smiling and seemed to be in motion, as if they were dancing. "Who are these people, my daughter?" "It's us, Dad. You, me, Mary, and Mom, looking after all of us up in heaven." Emma pointed to each figure. "Teacher Marina will understand this drawing." Mom said she understands special drawings. Mary approached and observed the drawing closely. "Emma, when did you make this drawing?" "This morning when I woke up." Mom was sitting on my bed helping me choose the right colors. Gabriel and Mary exchanged a glance. Since the revelations from the previous day, they had both decided not to question Emma's experiences with Sarah, but to support them as a natural part of the girl's grieving process. "All right, let's meet Teacher Marina after lunch." Gabriel kissed his daughter's forehead. "But first I need to open the shop. That man from New York is coming back today to see the pieces of colonial religious art." "Anthony Silver," Mary recalled, wiping her hands on her apron. "Have you decided which pieces you will show him?" "I'm still not sure. Sarah always said to trust my instincts when something didn't feel right." Gabriel grabbed the shop keys. "And something about that man doesn't feel right." Arriving at Anderson Antiques, Gabriel found an unpleasant surprise. The door had been forced open during the night. Broken glass on the floor, drawers open, some items out of place. Fortunately, the most valuable pieces were kept in a safe that had not been breached, but the feeling of violation was disturbing. "Mary, call the police." Gabriel examined the damage while Emma stayed close to him, observing everything with an unusual attention for a child. "Dad," Emma said softly, "the man who was here yesterday wasn't a good person." "How do you know that?" "I saw him in my drawing this morning too. He had a mean face, messing with the things in the shop at night." Emma flipped through her sketchbook until she found a sketch she had made without Gabriel noticing. A man in a dark suit rummaging through the shelves of the antique shop under the moonlight. Gabriel felt a chill. "Emma, did you draw this before or after we knew about the break-in?" "Before. When I was drawing our family, I saw this man too. But I didn't like him, so I drew him on a separate page." Detective Carnero, a man in his 50s who had known the Anderson family for decades, arrived in 20 minutes, accompanied by 2 police officers. Gabriel explained about Anthony Silva's visit the day before and showed the business card the man had left. "Mr. Gabriel, we've had some similar cases in the area. People posing as collectors, mapping out antique shops and colonial houses for later thefts." The detective noted the details in his notebook. "This card may be fake. I'll check the address in New York. And the pieces, did they take anything valuable?" "Apparently not. It seems they were interrupted or were just scouting." The detective observed Emma, who continued to draw calmly in her sketchbook. "Does your daughter always draw this much?" "Lately, yes. It's a way for her to express herself." Emma looked at the detective and showed a new drawing. Police arresting a man in a dark suit in front of a large city building. "Interesting." The detective smiled at the girl. "You have talent, little one." After the police left, Gabriel decided to close the shop early and focus on what really mattered, the well-being of the family. Back home, they had a simple meal of rice, beans and chicken that Mary had prepared, seasoned with the love that only homemade food can have. "Mary," Gabriel said during lunch, "about your family. Do you have children?" "I had a son who died at 20 in a car accident." The answer came naturally, without the weight of old grief. "That's why Sarah sought me out. She knew I would understand your pain in a special way. And that's why you take such good care of Emma." "I care, because she reminds me that life goes on, that love continues even after the hardest losses." At 3 in the afternoon, the 3 of them continued walking along the cobblestone streets towards Oak Street. To the right was the studio of Marina Anderson. Savannah was in its most beautiful season of the year. Autumn painted the trees in golden and reddish hues that perfectly contrasted with the colorful colonial facades. The studio occupied the ground floor of a light blue townhouse, with large windows that allowed abundant natural light to flood in. In the display window, watercolors and children's drawings created a cheerful mosaic of colors and shapes. Marina Anderson greeted them at the door, a woman in her 40s, with light brown curly hair tied back in a loose ponytail, comfortable clothes splattered with paint, and green eyes that conveyed a mix of wisdom and compassion. "Gabriel, Emma, Mary," Marina greeted each with a warm smile. "Sarah told me so much about you. Please, come in." The interior of the studio was a universe of creative possibilities. Easels were scattered throughout the room, shelves filled with paints, brushes, and papers of all textures. Children's artworks displayed on the walls, and in the back, a cozy area with colorful cushions where one could sit and chat. "Emma," Marina knelt to be at the girl's height, "your mom told me you make very special drawings. Would you like to show me some?" Emma nodded shyly and opened her sketchbook. Marina examined each drawing with genuine attention, asking respectful questions about colors, shapes, and feelings. "This one here," Marina pointed to the drawing of the family with Sarah floating above, "tells a very important story. Would you like to explain it to me?" "It's my family. Mom isn't in the world anymore, but she still takes care of us. Sometimes I see her, especially when I'm drawing." Emma spoke naturally, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Marina nodded. "And how do you feel when you see your mom?" "Happy, and a little sad too. Happy because she still loves me, sad because I can't hug her." Gabriel watched the conversation with growing emotion. Marina did not treat Emma's experiences as childish fantasy, but as a legitimate form of emotional processing. "Emma, would you like to learn new techniques for your drawings? Watercolor, for example?" Marina showed some watercolors produced by other children. "The colors become more vibrant and expressive." "Yes, Mom said you would teach me magical things." Marina laughed. "It's not magic. It's art. But sometimes art can feel magical. As Emma explored the materials available in the studio, Marina spoke with Gabriel and Mary about the class program. Sarah told me about your situation in great detail. Emma has an extraordinary natural talent, but more importantly, she has an emotional need to express herself through art, Marina explained, watching the girl mix colors on an improvised palette. The classes are not just about technique. They are about emotional processing, about finding healthy ways to deal with loss. And will this help her to cope better with Sarah's death? Gabriel asked. It will help her integrate this experience constructively into her life. Loss will always be a part of who she is, but it doesn't have to be a burden. It can be a source of special strength and sensitivity. Gabriel looked at Emma, who had begun to paint spontaneously on a large sheet of paper. With fluid and confident movements, she created abstract shapes in shades of blue and gold. What are you painting, sweetheart? The morning wind, Emma replied without stopping her painting. Mom said the morning wind carries messages of love to people who are far away. Marina smiled. She's right. Art is a way to send and receive those messages. When they left the studio an hour later, with Emma excited to return next week and Gabriel carrying his daughter's first official painting, the three walked back home with the feeling that something important had shifted in their lives. Mary, Gabriel said when they were at the door of their house, thank you for organizing this meeting. It was Mrs. Sarah's idea, not mine. Even so. And Marina, she seems like a very special person. Mary smiled discreetly. Indeed. And she has been a widow for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Gabriel looked at her in surprise. Why are you telling me this? It's nothing, Mr. Gabriel, just nothing. Emma ran ahead, eager to hang her new painting in her room. And as Gabriel watched his daughter climb the stairs with renewed energy, he felt that perhaps it was time to read that letter from Sarah about new beginnings that he had saved for later. Perhaps it was time to start believing that life, even after the greatest loss, could still hold beautiful surprises. The phone rang insistently on Friday morning, pulling Gabriel from a peaceful sleep he hadn't experienced in months. It was Officer Johnson, with news about the burglary investigation. Mr. Gabriel, the address on Anthony Silva's card is fake. There is no office in Upper East Side with that name. The officer's voice carried a mix of irritation and concern. Worse still, we've had 3 other similar cases in the area over the past few weeks. Antiques in Arlington and Springfield have also been visited by men posing as collectors. Gabriel sat up in bed, fully awake now. And have they identified who they are? We're working on it. But I need you to come to the station today to identify some photographs. It may be a gang specializing in colonial religious art, of course. I'll stop by after lunch. When Gabriel went down to the kitchen, he found Mary preparing morning coffee while Emma was drawing at the table, focused on something that looked like a colorful map. Good morning, family. Gabriel kissed his daughter's forehead and accepted the cup of coffee that Mary offered him. Emma, what are you drawing today? A map of the important places in Savannah. Emma showed the drawing, where one could recognize St. John's Church, their house, the shop, and the studio. Marina asked me yesterday to draw the places where I feel safe. Gabriel examined the drawing more closely. And these red dots? They are the dangerous places. Emma pointed to some marks scattered across the map. Places where bad people might be hiding. Mary approached, intrigued. How do you know which places are dangerous? Mom shows me. She can see things that we can't see. Emma continued, coloring naturally. Last night she told me that the bad man is coming back, but he won't be able to do anything bad to our family. Gabriel felt a knot in his stomach. Emma's intuitions had proven surprisingly accurate. Mary, can you stay with Emma today? I need to go to the police station and then to the store to check if everything is in order. Of course. By the way, thinking about it, how about we take Emma to see the craft fair at Springfield Square? Marina said it would be good for her to experience different forms of art. Emma clapped her hands. Yes, I want to see the artisans working. Gabriel smiled, relieved to see his daughter showing enthusiasm for normal childhood activities. Great idea. We'll meet at home for dinner. At the police station, Gabriel examined dozens of photographs of suspects, but none perfectly matched the man who had introduced himself as Anthony Silva. Officer Johnson also showed some pieces of colonial religious art recovered from other thefts. Do you recognize any of these pieces? Gabriel carefully analyzed each item. This statue of Saint Anthony looks like one I have in the store, but I'm not sure. I'd need to check my inventory. Do that. And Gabriel reinforced the security of the store. These criminals are persistent. Back at Anderson Antiques, Gabriel found an unpleasant surprise. Marcelo Santos, his minority partner since the store opened, was rummaging through the inventory files without permission. Marcelo, what are you doing here? I thought you were traveling. Marcelo jumped, dropping some papers on the floor. He was a man in his 50s, always well-dressed, but today he seemed nervous and sweating more than usual. Gabriel, what a scare. I got back from the trip yesterday and heard about the break-in. I came to check if anything important was taken. And why didn't you call me first? I tried, but I couldn't reach you. Marcelo bent down to pick up the papers, avoiding Gabriel's gaze. I was just checking if the most valuable pieces are still here. Gabriel observed the documents scattered on the floor. They were inventory sheets for specific items, carved saints, altarpieces, colonial silverware. Exactly the type of item that would interest collectors or criminals. Marcelo, why do you have the sheets for the colonial religious art pieces? Was organizing to make it easier for the police in case they need a complete list of what we have. The answer came hesitantly. Gabriel felt something was off. Marcelo had been a partner for 5 years, but had always been the quiet part of the business, investing money, but leaving management entirely to Gabriel and Sarah. Why was he now so interested in the details of the inventory? Marcelo, I need to ask you a direct question. Have you talked to anyone about our collection? Any buyers interested in a bulk deal? No, of course not. Why do you ask? Because the man who was here on Tuesday, posing as a collector, knew exactly what kind of pieces to look for. He was familiar with our collection in a way that would only be possible if someone had given detailed information. Marcelo went visibly pale. Gabriel, are you implying that I'm asking directly, did you pass information about our collection to anyone? The silence stretched for long seconds. Marcelo walked to the window, watching the activity on the street, clearly struggling with some internal decision. Gabriel, he finally said, still facing away, you know my construction company hasn't been doing well for 2 years. I know, and I've always said you could count on me if you needed anything. I needed money. A lot of money, quickly. Marcelo turned to face Gabriel. A group from New York appeared interested in buying our entire collection. They offered 3 times the market value. Gabriel felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. And you passed information to them without consulting me? I thought it would be a good opportunity for both of us. With Sarah sick, you needed money too. Sarah wasn't sick when these negotiations started, Marcelo. She died 3 months ago. How long have you been talking to these people? Marcelo lowered his head. 6 months. The revelation hit Gabriel like a punch. 6 months ago, Sarah was still alive. The family was happy, and his partner was already planning to sell everything behind his back. Who are these people, Marcelo? I don't know their real names. The contact is always through an intermediary. A man named Silva Anthony Silva, Gabriel completed, his voice heavy with contained anger. Do you know him? When he was here on Tuesday, pretending to be a collector's representative. In reality, he was mapping our collection for a robbery. Marcelo paled even more. Gabriel, I swear I didn't know they were criminals. I thought it was a legitimate deal. And you thought you could sell my family heritage, the work of 3 generations, without even consulting me. I was desperate. The construction company's going bankrupt. I have huge debts. My wife doesn't know anything. Marcelo sat heavily in a chair. I thought you would go along with the deal, especially after Sarah's death. Gabriel walked to the safe and quickly checked if the most valuable pieces were still there. Everything seemed in order, but the feeling of betrayal was devastating. "Marcelo, do you have direct contact with these people?" "I have Silver's phone number. Call him now." "Set up a meeting and tell him I agree to sell some pieces." Gabriel took the phone and offered it to Marcelo. "And I'll be hiding to identify all of them for the police." "Gabriel, you don't understand. These people are dangerous. If they find out it's a trap—" "Marcelo, my 7-year-old daughter drew a map of Savannah marking places. Dangerous. She said that bad people are in the city. A child managed to identify the danger you brought to our family." Gabriel leaned over the table, staring directly at his partner. "Are you going to help me resolve this, or am I going to tell the police that you are an accomplice?" With trembling hands, Marcelo dialed the number. The conversation was brief and tense. Gabriel only heard one side, but understood enough. A meeting was set for Saturday night at the store to finalize the details of the transaction. After Marcelo left, Gabriel immediately called Officer Johnson, reporting the entire conversation. Then he called home. "Mary, it's me. How are things there?" "Everything is fine, Mr. Gabriel. We're coming back from the market now. Emma bought new paints and was chatting with a lady who makes cloth dolls. Mary, I want you two to stay home this weekend. Don't go out alone. Don't answer the door for strangers. I'll explain everything when I get back." "Did something happen?" "I found out who passed information about the store to the criminals. It's Marcelo, my partner." Gabriel heard Mary sigh deeply. "Mrs. Sarah suspected him." "What do you mean?" "She once told me she thought Marcelo was too interested in the values of the pieces, always asking about prices and buyers. She said that women can sense when someone isn't completely trustworthy." Gabriel shook his head. Once again, Sarah had been right about something he hadn't noticed. "Mary, is there a letter from Sarah about difficult situations?" "Yes. She said to open it when you had to make an important decision about protecting the family." "I think it's time to read that letter." When Gabriel arrived home in the late afternoon, he found Emma in the garden, painting a watercolor representation of the dogwoods blooming in the yard. The colors were more vibrant and precise than he had ever seen in her work. "How was the market, Princess?" "It was great, Dad. I met a lady who makes cloth angels, and she said my drawings have the soul of an artist." Emma showed a small doll dressed in white. "She gave me this angel and said it's to protect our family." Gabriel took the doll, observing the delicate embroidery details. "And what else did you do?" "I also drew a map of the market. And guess what? There were no red dots there. It was just a place for good people." "That's great. My daughter—" Mary appeared on the porch carrying Sarah's letter marked "For difficult situations." Gabriel opened it right there in the garden, while Emma continued painting and Mary watered the plants. "My dear Gabriel, if you are reading this letter, it means you have faced a situation that tested your ability to protect our family. I know you must be feeling betrayed, confused, perhaps even angry. Remember, people do not always act out of malice. Sometimes they act out of desperation, fear, or need. This does not justify betrayals, but it may help you find solutions that protect everyone involved. Our family has a history of 3 generations of honest work. Do not let greed or the fear of others destroy that legacy, but also do not let yourself be consumed by the desire for revenge. Emma is watching you. She will learn from your reactions how to deal with conflicts in adult life. Be the upright man you have always been, but also be firm to protect those you love. Trust the police, trust Mary, and trust your own intuition. It has never failed you. With all my love and trust, Sarah P.S. If necessary, use the savings to buy back Marcelo's share in the business. Our safety is worth more than money." Gabriel carefully folded the letter. Once again, Sarah had anticipated a difficult situation and offered clear guidance. "Mary," he said, watching Emma mix colors on the makeshift palette, "tomorrow night is going to be an important night. The police are going to arrest the criminals who wanted to rob our store. And then we will rebuild. Our family, our business, our life. Oh, Gabriel smiled, watching his daughter focused on her art. We will rebuild everything the way Sarah would be proud to see. The sun set behind the mountains of Savannah, painting the sky with golden hues that perfectly matched the colors Emma had chosen for her dogwoods. And for the first time in months, Gabriel felt that he was truly in control of his own life again. Saturday dawned heavy with tension at the house on Maple Street. Gabriel barely managed to sleep, mentally going over all the details of the plan he had arranged with Officer Johnson. At 6 in the morning, he was already in the kitchen preparing coffee when Mary arrived earlier than usual. "Good morning, Mr. Gabriel. How are you feeling?" "Nervous but determined." Gabriel served 2 cups of coffee. "And worried about Emma. I don't want her to notice that something different is happening." "She already has." Mary sat at the table. "Last night before bed, she showed me a new drawing. Police hiding in the store, men being arrested, and a happy family at the end." Gabriel shook his head, still impressed with his daughter's intuition. "Sometimes I feel like she knows more about what's going to happen than I do." Emma appeared in the kitchen at that moment, already dressed in a light blue dress and carrying not only her sketchbook, but also the angel doll she had received at the market. "Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Mary." She went directly to Gabriel and hugged him with unusual strength. "Today is going to be an important day." "Why do you say that, Princess?" "Because Mom came to visit me again this morning. She said that after today, our family will be complete again." Gabriel frowned. "Complete how?" Emma smiled mysteriously and opened the sketchbook to a new page. The drawing showed 5 figures in front of the colonial house: Gabriel, herself, Mary, a woman with curly hair who was clearly Marina, and floating above everyone was Sarah with a serene and approving expression. "Mom said that some people leave our lives and others will come, but the ones who come are always good people she sent to take care of us." Mary and Gabriel exchanged a meaningful glance. "Emma," Mary asked gently, "did your mom say anything else about today?" "She said that the bad men won't be able to do anything wrong because there are many good people protecting our family. And that after today, Dad will stop carrying sadness in his heart." Gabriel knelt in front of his daughter. "My daughter, do you understand that sometimes adults need to solve complicated problems?" "I understand, and I understand that you're worried about me. But you don't need to be. Mom said everything will be okay." The day passed slowly. Gabriel tried to keep the normal routine, playing with Emma in the garden, having a quiet lunch with Mary, even reading a few pages of a history book that Sarah had left marked. But as the afternoon progressed, the tension increased. At 5 in the evening, Officer Johnson arrived at the house to review the final details of the plan. "Mr. Anderson, my men will be positioned around the store from 7 tonight. You will enter normally at 8, pretending to organize the pieces for the buyers. When they arrive, let them in and talk freely. Just give the signal when you're sure they are the criminals we are looking for." "And what if something goes wrong?" "It won't. We have enough men and experience with this type of operation." The officer looked at Emma, who was quietly drawing at the table. "And it seems we have a special consultant who has already guaranteed our success." Emma looked up and smiled. "You are a good person. Your police officers are good people too. Today you will catch bad people and protect other families as well." The officer was impressed by the girl's maturity. "How do you know that?" "Because I drew you saving other kids too. The bad men stole things from other families, didn't they?" Gabriel and the officer exchanged surprised glances at the accuracy of her observation. At 7:30, Gabriel said goodbye to Emma and Mary. Marina had been invited for dinner, officially to discuss Emma's artistic progress, but Gabriel suspected Mary had ulterior motives. "Dad," Emma called him as he was at the door, "remember to take a deep breath if you get scared. And remember that Mom is protecting you. I'll remember, Princess. Gabriel walked through the cobblestone streets of Savannah with a racing heart. The city was particularly beautiful that late afternoon, with the lights of the colonial houses beginning to turn on, and the distant sound of the bells from St. John's Church marking the hours. At Anderson Antiques, he turned on only a few lights, creating an atmosphere suitable for a discreet negotiation. He positioned some valuable pieces on the mahogany counter, but made sure to keep the family's most precious items in the safe. At 8:15, Mark arrived visibly nervous, sweating despite the mild evening temperature. Gabriel, there's still time to back out of this. These men are not a joke. Mark, you created this problem. Now you're going to help me solve it, or you'll face criminal charges for complicity. At 8:30, 3 men entered the store. Gabriel immediately recognized the fake Anthony Silva, now dressed more casually but with the same arrogant posture. The other 2 were burly men who clearly served as security. "Mr. Anderson," Silva greeted with a fake smile. "Good to see you again. I brought my associates to evaluate the pieces. Of course, I set aside some interesting options." Gabriel showed the carved saints, altarpieces, and silver pieces he had selected. The men examined everything with technical knowledge, making comments that revealed experience in the field. "Very interesting," said one of the associates, "but our client is more interested in the whole lot, all the pieces of colonial religious art you have." "That can be negotiated," Gabriel replied calmly, "but I need to understand the buyer's profile better. Where are these pieces going?" "To a private collection in New York, a businessman who appreciates colonial religious art." Gabriel pretended to consider the proposal, but paid attention to details that might interest the police. One of the men had a scar on his left hand, another spoke with a New York accent, and Silva carried a briefcase identical to the one he had brought on the first visit. "And what about the documentation?" Gabriel asked. "My associate here mentioned that you don't worry much about provenance." It was the cue the criminals had been waiting for. Silva smiled with renewed confidence. "Mr. Anderson, let's be frank. Our client doesn't care about official documentation. He pays well for discretion and speed. No questions, no bureaucracy, no complications." "What kind of complications?" "The kind that involve tax authorities, historical heritage, those boring things." The scarred man chuckled softly. "Our scheme works in several historic cities. We buy complete collections, transport them discreetly, and everyone wins." Gabriel felt he had enough information. Discreetly, he adjusted a silver candlestick on the counter, the signal agreed upon with the police. "Gentlemen," Silva said, opening the briefcase and pulling out bundles of cash, "how about we close the deal today? 50,000 in cash right now for the entire collection of religious art." "50,000 is too little," Gabriel replied, trying to buy time for the police to position themselves. "Then 60, but that's our final offer." At that moment, powerful lights illuminated the store, and authoritative voices shouted, "Police, nobody move!" The criminal's reaction was immediate. The scarred man tried to run toward the back of the store, but was quickly subdued. Silva attempted to hide the briefcase with money, but an officer was already beside him. Only the third man surrendered without resistance. "Gabriel, run!" Mark shouted, but it was too late. The police were already inside the store, fully controlling the situation. "Documents!" Officer Johnson entered after his men secured the area. "You are under arrest for conspiracy, receiving stolen property, and attempted crimes against historical heritage." As the criminals were handcuffed, Gabriel felt relief wash over his chest. It was over. His family was safe. "Mr. Anderson," the officer approached, "you did an excellent job. These recordings will help dismantle the entire network." Recordings. "We had hidden equipment in the store. We got everything. Names, the cities they operate in, their methods. Several other families will have their properties protected thanks to your work." Gabriel immediately thought of Emma and her prediction about saving other families. When everything was over and the store was cleared, Gabriel walked home with a sense of liberation he hadn't felt in months. The streets of Savannah seemed safer, more welcoming. At home, he found a scene that deeply moved him. Emma, Mary, and Marina were in the living room, flipping through old family photo albums. Soft laughter filled the air, and for the first time since Sarah's death, the house felt truly alive again. "Dad!" Emma ran to hug him. "It all worked out, didn't it? The police caught the bad guys." "It all worked out, Princess." "How did you know?" "Because I drew the happy ending this morning." She showed him a colorful drawing of Gabriel smiling, surrounded by Mary, Marina, and herself, all in front of the colonial house under a starry sky. Marina stood up and approached. "Gabriel, I'm glad everything is resolved. Mary told me what was happening. Thank you for staying with them today. I know it wasn't your responsibility. It wasn't a burden." Marina smiled warmly. "It was a pleasure. Your family is very special." Gabriel looked around the room. Mary discreetly organizing the teacups, Emma showing her latest drawings to Marina. The photographs of Sarah spread across the table like happy memories, no longer painful reminders. "Mary," he said, "I think it's time we read that letter from Sarah about new beginnings." "Are you sure?" Gabriel looked at Marina, who was helping Emma organize her drawing materials, and then at Mary, who had become much more than an employee. She was truly part of the family. "I'm sure. I think I'm ready for all kinds of new beginnings." Outside, the bells of St. John's Church rang 10 o'clock, marking not only the end of a tense day, but the beginning of a new phase in the Anderson family's life. A phase where the past would be honored but no longer feared, and where the future could finally be imagined with hope and joy. Sunday dawned with a clear golden sky over Savannah, as if the city itself breathed a sigh of relief after the events of the previous night. Gabriel woke up rested for the first time in months, without nightmares, without jolts. From his room, he could hear Emma humming a tune he didn't recognize, something cheerful and spontaneous that she seemed to be inventing on the spot. In the kitchen, Mary was preparing morning coffee with a smile wider than usual. On the table, Sarah's letter about new beginnings waited to be read, alongside a small bouquet of wildflowers that Emma had picked from the garden. "Good morning, Mary. Did you sleep well?" "Better than I have in a long time, Mr. Anderson, and from what I'm hearing upstairs, Emma did too." Gabriel smiled, pouring himself some coffee. "She's singing. I haven't heard her voice singing since before Mrs. Sarah passed," Mary gently completed. "Children have this ability to show us when it's safe to be happy again." Emma came down the stairs at that moment, wearing a sunny yellow dress and carrying both her sketchbook and a watercolor she had started the day before. Her hair was loose, shining in the morning light that streamed through the colonial windows. "Good morning, Dad." "Good morning, Mary." She kissed both of them and sat at the table with renewed energy. "I dreamt about Mom again, but this time it was different." "Different how?" Gabriel sat next to his daughter. "She was smiling and said she can rest now because our family is safe and happy again. And she said one more important thing." Emma opened the sketchbook to a specific page. "I drew for her where you two are going to get married." Gabriel nearly spilled his coffee cup. "What do you mean, Princess?" The drawing showed St. John's Church decorated with flowers, and outside, Gabriel in a dark suit next to Marina, who wore a light blue dress. Mary was holding Emma's hand, and all the figures were smiling. Above the scene, Sarah floated with a look of maternal approval. "Emma," Mary said gently, "you know your dad and Marina just met a few days ago, right?" "I know, but Mom said some people are meant to be together. They just need the right time to find each other." Emma spoke with the naturalness of a child who accepts truths that adults question. "And the right time has come." Gabriel looked at the drawing with growing emotion. The precision of the details, the harmony of the colors, the expression of peace on Sarah's drawn face. Everything suggested that Emma had captured something he himself was still discovering. "Mary," he finally said, "I think it's time we read Sarah's letter." With careful fingers, Gabriel opened the envelope marked, "To Gabriel." when you fall in love again. Sarah's handwriting filled his vision. My love, Gabriel. If you are reading this letter, it means your heart is opening to love again. Do not feel guilty. Feel grateful. The love we share does not diminish because you have found someone new to love. On the contrary, it multiplies, expands, and becomes stronger. True love is not jealous or possessive. It is generous and wants the happiness of the beloved. I know you must be wondering if it's too soon or if you are betraying my memory. Gabriel, my dear, you are not betraying nothing. It honors everything we built together by showing Emma that it is possible to love deeply multiple times in life. Marina Anderson is an extraordinary woman. Yes, I knew it would be her. I lost my husband suddenly as well. She understands the pain of grief, loves art and children, and has a heart big enough to love our daughter as if she were her own. She was my choice for you before you even met her. Don't rush, but also don't sabotage yourself with false feelings of loyalty. Allowing yourself to be happy is the best way to honor our memory and set an example for Emma about how life should be lived with courage, love, and hope. Mary has more letters for specific moments in this new relationship. Trust her. Trust Marina. Trust yourself. And remember, I am not lost somewhere far away. I'm alive in every smile of Emma, in every restored piece in the shop, in every moment of happiness you experience. Love doesn't die. It just changes form. Be happy, my love. It's what I wish for you the most. Forever yours, Sarah P.S. Marina likes her coffee strong in the morning and is allergic to red roses. She prefers daisies. Gabriel finished reading with tears in his eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude for having been loved by such a wise and generous woman. Dad, Emma said softly, are you sad? No, Princess. I'm relieved. Your mom always knew things before everyone else. At that moment, the phone rang. It was Marina, calling to check how the previous night had gone and if everyone was okay. Gabriel, I hope I'm not calling too early. I couldn't stop thinking about you since yesterday. It's not too early. Actually, we wanted to thank you again for staying with Emma and Mary. It meant a lot to me to know they were safe. It was a pleasure. Emma showed me amazing drawings, and Mary told me fascinating stories about your family. Marina hesitated slightly. Gabriel, may I ask a personal question? Of course. Would you like to maybe have lunch together today? The four of us. I thought we could take Emma to visit the Independence Museum. She showed a lot of interest yesterday when we talked about Virginia's history. Gabriel looked at Emma, who nodded enthusiastically, and then at Mary, who smiled encouragingly. We would love that. How about we meet at the square at 11? Perfect. And Gabriel, I'm really happy that everything worked out well yesterday. After hanging up, Gabriel turned to his makeshift family. Mary, are you coming with us to the museum? I'd prefer to stay home today and tidy up a few things. Mary smiled with a special sparkle in her eyes. You three need time together to get to know each other better. At 11 o'clock, Gabriel and Emma walked along the cobblestone streets toward Springfield Square. The morning was perfect. Golden sun, gentle breeze, and the city in its most impressive colonial splendor. Emma had chosen to bring both her sketchbook and a small watercolor of St. John's Church that she had finished the day before. Marina was waiting for them on the museum steps, wearing a light blue cotton dress, exactly like the one Emma had drawn, and carrying a leather bag with some art supplies. It's so good to see you. Marina hugged Emma and greeted Gabriel with a warm smile. Emma, I brought some special colored pencils for you to draw at the museum, if you'd like. Thank you, Marina. I brought a drawing to show you too. Emma opened her sketchbook to the page of the wedding at St. John's Church. Marina looked at the drawing attentively, not showing surprise or embarrassment. It's a very beautiful drawing, Emma, and very detailed. Marina looked at Gabriel. Your daughter has an extraordinary imagination. Sometimes I think it's more than imagination, Gabriel replied carefully. She has a very special way of seeing things. I understand. Marina knelt down to be at Emma's level. And what else do you see about the three of us? I see that you will make my dad smile for real again, and that you will teach me how to paint flowers in a way that Mom would be proud." Emma spoke with absolute naturalness. "And I see that our family will grow bigger and happier." Marina felt her eyes welling up with tears. "Emma, do you know that I also lost someone very important?" "I know, your husband. He was an artist too and taught children." Emma took Marina's hand. "But he is okay now, in the same place as Mom, and they want us to be happy." Gabriel watched the interaction between Marina and Emma with growing emotion, the ease with which they connected, the naturalness with which Marina accepted the girl's special perceptions, the genuine tenderness in both of their gestures. "How about we go into the museum?" Marina suggested, still holding Emma's hand. "I'm sure you will love the stories that the old pieces tell." During the visit to the Independence Museum, Gabriel watched Marina explain the history of Virginia to Emma with patience and educational passion. The girl asked intelligent questions and sketched details that caught her attention: carved saints, colonial furniture, everyday objects from the 18th century. "Marina," Gabriel said, when they stopped to rest in the museum's courtyard, "may I ask how you decided to work with art therapy for children?" "After my husband died, I felt very lost. He was an art teacher too, and our world revolved around education and creativity." Marina watched Emma sketch a colonial fountain. "I found that helping children process their emotions through art helped me process mine as well." "And did it work?" "It does. It's not that the pain disappears, but it finds a constructive place in our lives. It becomes strength to help others, sensitivity to perceive beauty where we once only saw sadness." Gabriel nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "Gabriel," Marina said softly, "may I be direct with you?" "Of course." "Yesterday, when Mary told me about Sarah and about, as she planned every detail to take care of you even after she was gone, I was impressed by her love. And I was also impressed by her courage to accept this new beginning. To be honest, I'm still learning to accept. It's natural, but I want you to know that I'm in no rush. I want you to feel completely comfortable with anything that develops between us. Your daughter and your peace of mind are priorities." Emma approached at that moment, showing a drawing she had just made. Gabriel and Marina sitting in the museum courtyard, talking, while she drew next to them. Above the scene, Sarah and a male figure, probably Marina's deceased husband, watched with serene expressions. "Here you go," Emma said, offering the drawing to Marina. "This is for you to keep." Marina accepted the drawing with evident emotion. "Thank you, Emma. It's beautiful." "You're welcome. Mom said you might need to remember this day when you feel sad sometimes." Gabriel and Marina exchanged a glance over Emma's head, sharing a moment of silent understanding. They had both found someone who understood the complexity of grief, the possibility of loving again without betraying past memories, and the courage needed to build something new on solid foundations of experience and maturity. "How about we go for lunch?" Gabriel suggested. "I know a restaurant nearby that serves the best southern food in the city." "Great idea," Marina agreed. "And Emma, you can keep drawing while we talk." As they walked along the cobblestone streets, toward the restaurant, Gabriel felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, the sensation that the future was a blank page filled with positive possibilities. Beside him, Marina carried an art supply bag and chatted animatedly with Emma about watercolor techniques. And for the first time since Sarah's death, Gabriel could imagine not just surviving, but truly living again. The next 3 months brought a gradual but profound transformation in the Anderson family's life. Gabriel had fully resumed the activities of the antique shop, now with renewed pleasure in the work he had inherited from his father and grandfather. Mark had sold his share of the partnership and moved to Richmond, where he was trying to rebuild his life away from past mistakes. The shop was thriving again, attracting both tourists and serious collectors interested in authentic pieces with documented provenance. Emma flourished in her art classes with Marina. Her paintings gained a sophisticated technical dimension but retained the special sensitivity that had always characterized her. In the studio, she had become a little teacher for other children, especially helping those who had also lost parents and found in art a way to express feelings too complex for words. Mary continued to be the practical heart of the home, but Gabriel noticed she spoke more and more about visiting her sister in Springfield, about perhaps opening a small guest house for tourists, about her own dreams that she had postponed to care for other families. She was fulfilling the promise made to Sarah, but also preparing for the right moment to follow her own path. Marina had become a constant presence in their lives. Sunday dinners at the house on Maple Street, outings to museums and colonial churches, afternoons in the studio, where Gabriel sometimes joined the classes and discovered that he also had a talent for artistic restoration. The relationship grew with organic naturalness, without haste, built on solid foundations of friendship, mutual respect, and a shared love for Emma. On a particularly cold August morning, Gabriel found Mary in the kitchen preparing coffee earlier than usual, with a thoughtful expression he had learned to recognize. "Good morning, Mary, how are you?" "Good morning, Gabriel. I need to talk to you about something important." Gabriel felt his stomach tighten slightly. "What happened?" "Nothing bad. On the contrary." Mary served coffee for both of them and sat at the table. "It's about my sister in Springfield. She's sick, needing care, and, well, I think the time has come." "The time for what?" "For me to leave here, to let you all continue your lives without needing me." Gabriel felt a mix of panic and understanding. "Mary, you're not an employee here, you're family. If your sister needs you, we can find a way to—" "Gabriel," Mary gently interrupted him, "look around. Look at your life now. You're doing well. Emma is talking and laughing again. Marina is part of your family. You don't need me the way you did when I first got here." Gabriel knew she was right, but the idea of Mary leaving made him anxious. "What if we need you? What if something happens?" "Then you call me, and I'll come running back." Mary smiled warmly. "Springfield is just a 2-hour drive. It's not on the other side of the world." Emma appeared in the kitchen at that moment, still in her pajamas, but carrying a drawing she had clearly made overnight. It was an image of Mary in a small, cozy house, caring for a white-haired lady, both smiling. In the corner of the page, a road connected this house to the colonial house in Savannah, where Gabriel, Emma, and Marina waved from the window. "You already knew, didn't you?" Gabriel asked his daughter. "I did. Mary needs to take care of her sister now, but she'll come back to visit us all the time." Emma hugged Mary. "And when we miss her, we can go there too." "How do you know these things, Princess?" "Mom tells me. She said Mary fulfilled her promise and can now follow her own path." Emma looked directly at Gabriel. "She also said you don't need to be afraid of being alone anymore." Mary looked between father and daughter with evident tenderness. "When I was thinking about how to tell you this, I didn't imagine it would be so easy." "When do you want to go?" Gabriel asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "At the end of the week. That way we have time to organize everything." "All right." Gabriel nodded, although he felt a lump in his throat. "We're really going to miss you. And I'm going to miss you all. But this isn't a goodbye forever. It's just a new chapter." The following Thursday, the day before Mary's departure, Marina suggested a special farewell dinner at the house on Maple Street. She arrived in the late afternoon carrying ingredients to prepare a complete stew, a dish that required time and care, perfect for a night of celebration and nostalgia. "Marina," Gabriel said as she organized the spices in the kitchen, Can I ask you something? Of course. How are you feeling about all this? With Mary leaving, with you practically moving here on weekends. Marina stopped chopping the kale and turned to face him. Do you want the truth? Always. I'm a little nervous. Mary has always been here as a bridge between you and me, a steady presence that made everything feel more natural. Marina went back to chopping the kale, but more slowly. Without her, it will just be the three of us. More. Real. Gabriel stepped closer and placed his hands on her shoulders. And does that scare you? A little. And you? A little too. Gabriel smiled. But I think it's natural. We're building something important. It's worth feeling nervous. Marina turned in his arms, her eyes shining with contained emotion. Gabriel, I love you. I love you and I love Emma, as if she were my daughter. I want you to know that before Mary leaves. Gabriel felt his heart race. These were the first openly declared words of love between them. I love you too, Marina, and I know Sarah would completely approve. How do you know? Because Emma showed me another drawing yesterday. Gabriel chuckled softly. A drawing of you wearing an engagement ring, very similar to one that belonged to my grandmother and is kept in the store's safe. Marina's eyes widened. She drew that. She did, and when I asked her when that would happen, she said it would be when I stopped being afraid of making future promises. And have you stopped? Gabriel kissed her gently. I'm stopping now. The stew was ready by late afternoon, filling the house with comforting aromas that Mary declared better than my own mother's. Emma had spent the day preparing an impromptu exhibition of her recent works, transforming the living room into a colorful gallery that told the story of the past few months through watercolors and drawings. Mary, Emma said during dinner, I made a special gift for you. It was a watercolor painting showing all the important people in their lives. Gabriel, Emma, Marina, Mary, and above all, Sarah and Marina's late husband, blessing the scene with serene expressions. In the background, the landscape of savannah stretched in golden hues. Emma. Mary held the painting with trembling hands. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever received in my life. It's so you don't forget that even far away we remain family. Gabriel watched the scene with deep emotion. His 7-year-old daughter had become a source of wisdom and compassion that impressed him daily. After dinner, while Marina and Emma washed the dishes in the kitchen, Gabriel and Mary sat on the porch overlooking the garden, where the dogwoods were beginning to show the first signs of the approaching spring. Mary, Gabriel said, how can I thank you for everything you've done for us? You don't need to thank me. I thank you for letting me be part of this story. You'll always be part of it. I know. And I also know that you all will be fine. Better than fine, you will be happy, Mary smiled. Mrs. Sarah chose Marina for you very well. She will be a wonderful mother to Emma and a perfect partner for you. Gabriel looked through the kitchen window, where Marina was teaching Emma how to dry the dishes so they wouldn't get streaky. I think you're right. Of course I am. Women are always right about these things. On Friday morning, the whole little family gathered for Mary's farewell. Her sister had sent her brother-in-law to pick her up, a friendly man in his 60s, who was charmed by Emma and promised to bring her to visit Springfield whenever she wanted. Mary, Gabriel handed her an envelope. It's a little savings I've set aside. For emergencies, for your sister's treatments, for whatever you need. Mr. Gabriel, you don't have to. I do. You took care of us when we needed it most. Now let us take care of you too. Mary opened the envelope, and her eyes filled with tears. It was enough to ensure comfort for her sister, and perhaps even fulfill the dream of a little inn. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. The goodbyes were emotional but not dramatic. Mary hugged each one tightly, whispered something in Emma's ear that made the girls smile, and waved from the car window until she disappeared around the corner of Maple Street. "And now," Marina asked, wrapping her arm around Gabriel's shoulders as Emma waved at the car that could no longer be seen. "Now," Gabriel looked at his daughter and the woman he loved, "now we start our own chapter of the story." Emma turned to them with a radiant smile. "Dad, Marina, can I show you the drawing I made last night?" "Of course, Princess." The drawing depicted the three of them entering St. John's Church, all dressed in special clothes, with flower petals in the air and smiling faces. It was clearly a wedding scene. "When do you think this will really happen?" Emma asked with calculated innocence. Gabriel and Marina exchanged glances and laughed. "How about we ask your mom?" Gabriel suggested. "In the next dream you have together." "Good idea." Emma ran inside the house. "I'm going to draw the question right now." Marina turned to Gabriel. "You know she's probably going to come back with a specific date, right?" "I know." "And you know we're probably going to follow her suggestion, right?" "I know." Marina smiled and kissed him gently. "And I can't wait to find out what day Sarah chose for our wedding." Inside the house, Emma was already in her room preparing paper and paints for her next artistic conversation with her mom. Outside, Gabriel and Marina remained on the porch, hand in hand, watching Savannah wake up to another day in its millennia-old history, now including a new chapter of love and fresh starts in the colonial house on Maple Street. Autumn had arrived in Savannah with its characteristic golden palette, and with it came an unexpected letter that would definitively change the course of the Anderson family. Gabriel found it in the morning, delivered by the post office, along with the business correspondence from the antique shop. The sender was a law firm from Richmond, and the content was surprising. Sarah had left one last surprise, a project she had kept secret even from Gabriel. "Marina," Gabriel called to the studio, where she was teaching morning classes. "Can you come have lunch with us today? I received a letter about Sarah that, well, I think you need to be here when I open it." "Sure. Is everything okay?" "I think so." "In fact, I think it's more than okay." Emma was at school, so Gabriel waited until the afternoon to gather his small family in the room where so many important revelations had taken place. The lawyer's letter was on the rosewood table, still sealed, waiting for the right moment. "What do you think it is?" Marina asked, settling into the armchair where Mary used to sit. "Honestly, with Sarah it could be anything. She had an incredible ability to plan surprises." Gabriel looked at Emma, who had returned from school excited and carrying a new painting. "Princess, how about you help us figure out what's in this letter?" "Can I try to draw first?" Emma suggested, always practical. "Sometimes I can see things before they happen." "Good idea." Emma sat on the floor with her materials and began to sketch quickly. In a few minutes, she had created an image showing Gabriel holding important papers, Marina smiling with tears in her eyes, and herself painting in a room filled with natural light. "It's about the studio," Emma said, showing the drawing. "Mum left something about a special studio." Gabriel opened the letter with growing curiosity and read aloud. "Mr. Anderson, in accordance with the instructions left by your wife, Sarah Anderson, we are pleased to inform you about a project she secretly developed during the last months of her life. Your wife acquired and renovated a property on Main Street, number 847, specifically intended to become an art therapy center for children in mourning or trauma. The project, which she named Helena Institute Art and Healing, is fully funded and equipped, awaiting only the proper direction to begin operations. According to her instructions, the direction of the institute should be offered to teacher Marina Anderson. Should she demonstrate interest and capability, which, according to her notes, was an absolute certainty. You appear as the president of the board, and your daughter Emma as special consultant for matters of artistic sensitivity. Enclosed are the keys to the property, ownership documents, and a check for operational expenses for the first year. There is also a personal letter addressed to the three of you. We await your contact to schedule a visit to the property. Sincerely, Dr. Robert Anderson, Anderson Law Firm. The silence that followed was one of absolute astonishment. Marina had her hands over her mouth. Gabriel was rereading the letter, trying to process the information, and Emma smiled as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She bought an entire building to turn it into an institute. Gabriel finally managed to articulate. And appointed me director without even consulting me? Marina laughed through tears. This is unbelievable. It's not unbelievable, Emma corrected. It's Mom being Mom. She always wanted to help sad children become happy again. Gabriel opened the attached personal letter. My dear Gabriel, Marina and Emma, if you are reading this letter together, it means that my plans worked out and you have become a real family. It also means that the time has come to reveal my most ambitious project. Marina, dear, I know you will question whether you deserve this responsibility. You do, and much more. Your work with Emma has shown me that you have the rare gift of transforming pain into art, and art into healing. This institute is my way of multiplying that gift. Gabriel, my love, I know you will be surprised by the financial investment I secretly made. I used part of the inheritance I received from my grandmother, money that was saved specifically for a project that honors our family and helps others. There are no doubts. There are no complications. It is a gift for you and for the community. Emma, my little artist, you will have a very special role in the Institute. Your paintings and drawings will decorate the rooms. Your stories about talking to people who have passed will help other children understand that love does not die. You will be the bridge between the adult world and the world of children who need healing. The building has 6 studio rooms, a library specialized in art therapy, an indoor garden for outdoor activities, and a small apartment on the 2nd floor should Marina want to live there, although I suspect she would prefer the house on Maple Street with us. This is my last gift to you, but also to all the families who will go through painful losses and will find in the Institute a place of hope and rebuilding. Make good use of it. Do it with love. Do it thinking that every child helped is a victory against the sadness of the world. All my eternal love, Sarah P.S. Marina. The apartment on the 2nd floor has a beautiful view of the historic center and perfect light for painting. Gabriel, in the basement there is enough space for you to set up a restoration workshop for the Institute. Emma, the main room has an entire wall dedicated to her works. When Gabriel finished reading, the 3 were too emotional to speak immediately. Sarah's generosity and vision seemed limitless. I need to see this place, Marina finally said. I need to understand if I can really run something so important. You can, Emma asserted with absolute conviction. Mom never makes mistakes about people. How about we go now? Gabriel suggested, grabbing the keys. Before I start thinking this is all a dream. Main Street was as busy as ever, but number 847 stood out with its freshly painted light-colored facade and large windows that suggested abundant interior light. Gabriel opened the main door, and the 3 entered a space that had clearly been designed by someone who deeply understood the needs of an art therapy center. The ground floor had spacious rooms with high ceilings, each equipped with adjustable tables, easels, shelves filled with top-quality art materials and huge windows that flooded the spaces with natural light. One room was clearly designated for clay and sculpture activities, another for painting and drawing, and a third for fabric work and collage. My God, Marina murmured, walking through each space. She thought of everything, even the acoustics. See how the sound doesn't echo. Perfect for sensitive children. On the 1st floor, they found the promised library, not only with books on art therapy, but also with carefully selected children's literature, biographies of famous artists adapted for kids, and an entire section dedicated to books about grief and loss written specifically for different age groups.
Dad, look!
Emma ran to a specific shelf. There are books about children who talk to people who have died. Mom knew that other kids do this too. The 2nd floor revealed the apartment mentioned in the letter. 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a personal studio with the promised view of Savannah. It was small but cozy, clearly designed for someone who wanted to live close to work. Marina! Gabriel said as she stopped at the window of the personal studio. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that Sarah was right about the light. And about the view. And probably about everything else." Marina turned to him. "Gabriel, this is overwhelming. It's a dream I didn't even know I had. And it's a dream she had for you." In the inner garden, they discovered a green space surrounded by colonial walls, with flower beds already planted, strategically placed benches, and a small fountain that created a soothing sound of flowing water. "This is where we will do meditation and outdoor drawing activities," Marina said, as if she were already visualizing children scattered around the garden with sketch pads. "You're talking as if you've already accepted the position," Gabriel observed with a smile. "I think I have. How can I refuse a gift like this? A project that can help dozens of children." Marina sat on one of the benches. "But I will need help. A lot of help. You will have all the help in the world." Gabriel sat beside her. "And there's one more thing I need to tell you." "What?" Gabriel pulled a small dark blue velvet box from his pocket. "I've been talking with Sarah through Emma's drawings for weeks about the right moment to do this." Marina's eyes widened as he knelt before her in the garden of the Future Institute. "Marina Anderson, will you marry me? Will you form an official family with me and Emma? Will you share not only our lives, but also this incredible dream that Sarah left for us?" Tears streamed down Marina's face. "Yes, yes to everything." Gabriel placed the grandmother's ring, a delicate gold piece with a small but brilliant diamond, on Marina's finger, while Emma clapped her hands, sitting on the edge of the fountain. "Now we are officially a family," Emma declared. "And the Institute will have a director who is also my almost mom." "Almost?" Marina laughed through her tears. "After the wedding, she will be my real mom." Mom Sarah explained the difference. As the sun set over Savannah, painting the Institute's garden in golden hues, Gabriel, Marina, and Emma sat together, planning not only a wedding, but a future dedicated to transforming pain into art. Art into healing, and healing into hope for other families facing painful losses. "Do you know what's even more incredible?" Marina said, watching Emma draw the scene of the proposal in her ever-present sketchbook. "What? Sarah not only planned our happiness, she found a way to turn her own departure into something that will help hundreds of others deal with similar losses." Marina looked at the ring on her finger. "It's the kind of legacy that few can leave." Gabriel nodded, thinking of the wife who had been wise enough to plan not only the family's mourning, but also their recovery and future purpose. "I think she always knew that true love doesn't get lost when someone departs. It transforms into strength to help others find their own way back to happiness." Emma looked up from her drawing. "Mom said that when the Institute opens, she will be in the front row for the inauguration. We won't be able to see her, but she will be there." "And what else did she say?" Gabriel asked. "She said she can finally rest because her family isn't just okay, they are doing good in the world." As the three walked home through the cobblestone streets of Savannah, each carried the certainty that Sarah's love had found its most perfect way to continue living, multiplying in care and hope for all the families that would need to learn, like they did, that it is possible to rebuild happiness even after the most devastating losses. 18 months after the death of Sarah, spring arrived in Savannah, filled with renewal and fulfilled promises. The colonial city awakened under a crystal blue sky, and at St. John's Church, the bells rang in festive cadence, announcing a special day for the Anderson family. Gabriel looked at himself in the mirror of the room that had been his refuge of pain and was now a space of peace. He wore the navy blue suit that Sarah had chosen for him years ago, saying it brought out his green eyes. In the pocket of his jacket, he carried 2 wedding rings, a new one that he would place on Marina's finger in a few hours, and Sarah's, which he would transfer to his right hand as a symbol of a love that had not ended but had merely found a new way to exist. "Dad, are you ready?" Emma appeared at the door of the room, radiant in her sunflower yellow dress, adorned with small flowers hand-stitched by Mary, who had returned especially for the wedding. At 8 years old, celebrated the previous month, she had grown not only in height, but in a serene wisdom that impressed everyone who knew her. Almost, Princess. And how are you feeling? Happy, very happy. Emma showed a small bouquet of daisies, Marina's favorite flowers. Mom visited me last night and said today is the most beautiful day of her life in heaven. Gabriel knelt to be at eye level with his daughter. And what else did she say? She said you don't need to carry sadness in your heart anymore. That starting today, when you think of her, you should feel only gratitude and love. Emma adjusted her father's tie with careful gestures, and she said Marina will be the most loving mom in the world for me. Are you sure you want her to officially become your mom? Won't you feel like you're betraying Mom Sarah's memory? Emma smiled with a maturity that still surprised Gabriel. Dad, the heart isn't like a drawer that can only hold one person. It's like a garden that becomes more beautiful when it has more flowers. Mom Sarah will always be my mom in heaven, and Marina will be my mom here on earth. They both love me, and I love them both. Gabriel felt his eyes fill with tears of pride. How did you become so wise? I learned from you and the moms, and from Mary too. Mary appeared at the door at that moment, elegant in a light blue dress and carrying an old camera. Is the groom ready? The whole town is waiting at the church. The whole town? Mr. Gabriel, did you forget that half of Savannah has followed your story? Everyone is rooting for you. Mary smiled warmly. Mrs. Sarah has become a legend around here, the woman who planned the family's happiness even after leaving. Gabriel, Emma, and Mary walked through the cobblestone streets toward St. John's Church. The historic center was especially lively, with tourists and locals mingling on the steep hills. Many acquaintances greeted Gabriel with smiles and words of encouragement. Mr. Gabriel. Mrs. Lourdes, from the bakery, waved from the door of her establishment. God bless you today. Best wishes for the family, shouted Mr. Anthony, the craftsman from the market, who had become a friend of the family after meeting Emma and her artistic talent. At the church steps, Gabriel paused for a moment, observing the Baroque facade that had witnessed 3 centuries of human joys and sorrows. There, he and Sarah had married 12 years ago. There they had baptized Emma, and today there he would begin a new chapter in the family story. Nervous? Mary asked, noticing his hesitation. A little, but it's a good kind of nervousness. The kind of anticipation, not fear. The interior of St. John's Church was decorated with white daisies and dogwood branches, creating an atmosphere that combined colonial elegance with rustic simplicity. The pews were filled with friends, neighbors, clients from the antique shop, parents of Marina's students, and staff from the recently opened Helena Institute. Gabriel walked to the altar accompanied by Emma, who proudly carried the wedding rings on a small lace pillow. Father John, who had known the family for decades, welcomed them with a paternal smile. Gabriel, the priest whispered, Sarah would be very proud of this moment. I know she is, Gabriel replied, looking at the altar where a discreet photograph of Sarah had been placed beside fresh flowers. The organ music soared in the Baroque arches as Marina appeared at the entrance of the church. She wore a simple light blue silk dress without a veil, a conscious choice symbolizing a new beginning without denying the past. Her curly hair was loose, adorned only with small, natural daisies. Marina walked down the central aisle alone, with firm steps and eyes shining with happiness. When she reached the altar, Gabriel felt that all the pieces of his life finally fell into the right place. Dear friends, Father John began the ceremony, we are here today to celebrate not only the union of Gabriel and Marina, but the birth of a new family built on the solid foundations of love, respect, and mutual understanding of life's complexities. During the vows, Gabriel spoke with an emotional yet firm voice. Marina, you came into my life when I had forgotten it was possible to smile again. You taught me that loving again is not betraying the past, but honoring it in the most beautiful way possible. I promise to love you and our daughter Emma with all my heart, and to build a future worthy of the dreams that Sarah had for us." Marina, with tears of joy in her eyes, replied, "Gabriel, you and Emma have shown me that family is not just about blood, but about daily choices of love and care. I promise to honor Sarah's memory by being the best mum possible for Emma and the best wife possible for you. I promise that the Institute, Sarah, will be a place where her love will continue to live, helping other families find their way back to happiness." When it was time for the rings, Emma approached the altar with the appropriate solemnity. She first placed the ring on Gabriel's finger, then on Marina's, and then whispered something that only the three of them could hear. "Now Mom Sarah can rest in peace. We are a complete family. I now pronounce you husband and wife," Father John announced. "Gabriel, you may kiss your wife." The kiss was gentle, respectful, but filled with promises of the future. When they separated, Gabriel, Marina, and Emma embraced together, forming a circle of three people who chose to love each other as family. The congregation erupted in applause and tears of joy. Mary was capturing everything with her old camera, freezing moments that would become part of the family's history. Officer Johnson, present with his wife, applauded vigorously. Marina Anderson, now Marina Anderson, waved to her students from the Institute, who had prepared a special surprise. Outside the church, as the newlyweds received congratulations and blessings, a group of children from the Helena Institute had set up an impromptu exhibition of drawings and paintings. Each piece represented their own healing journey through art, inspired by the pioneering work that Emma had started. "Look, Marina." A 6-year-old girl named Sophia, who had lost her father in an accident, showed a colorful drawing. "I drew my daddy protecting me from above the clouds, just like Emma taught." Marina knelt to be at the girl's level. "It's beautiful, Sophia. Your daddy must be so proud." "He is. Sometimes I feel him petting my hair when I'm drawing." Gabriel watched the interaction with deep emotion. Sarah's legacy was not only in the happiness of her own family, but in the multiplication of that happiness for dozens of other children and families. The wedding reception took place in the garden of the Helena Institute, transformed for the occasion into a magical space with fairy lights strung between the trees, tables decorated with simple wildflower arrangements, and a small stage where local musicians played everything from classics of Brazilian popular music to Baroque music that Sarah loved. During dinner, Mary stood up to make a special toast. "I want to toast not only to the newlyweds, but to a woman who is not physically here, but is responsible for all this happiness. Sarah taught us that true love does not end with death. It transforms, multiplies, and finds new ways to bless the world. Cheers to the Anderson family, and cheers to the love that never dies." As the night progressed and guests began to say their goodbyes, Gabriel, Marina, and Emma found themselves alone in the garden, watching the lights of Savannah twinkling in the surrounding mountains. "Do you know what's most incredible?" Marina said, nestled in Gabriel's arms while Emma quietly drew by the lantern light. "What?" Sarah accomplished what few can. She turned her own departure into something that brought more life and love into the world. Marina looked at Emma, who was finishing a drawing of the wedding party. "She not only taught us how to be happy again, she created a place where hundreds of other people will learn the same lesson." Gabriel nodded, thinking of all the events of the past 18 months. "Sometimes I feel like she orchestrated everything from day one. Mary appearing just when we needed her, you coming into Emma's life at the right moment, even Mark revealing his true intentions so I could clean up the society." "Do you think she planned all of this?" "I don't know if she planned it, but I'm sure she guided us to the right choices." Gabriel looked at Emma. "Especially through her." "Done." Emma showed her latest drawing. It was an aerial view of the wedding party, as if painted by someone observing from the sky. At the top of the page, two translucent figures, Sarah and Marina's deceased husband, watched the scene with expressions of deep satisfaction. "They are happy because now we are a real family," Emma explained. And because the Institute will help many children who are sad like I was. Gabriel picked up his daughter, surprised at how much she had grown. Emma, you know that even now, married and happy, you can always talk to Mom Sarah in your drawings, right? I know, but now I won't need to talk to her so much about sadness. I'll talk about happy things, about school, about my paintings, about how our family is growing. Our family is growing, Marina asked curiously. Emma smiled mysteriously. Mom Sarah said that next year I'll have to teach a little baby how to draw too. Gabriel and Marina exchanged surprised and joyful glances. Another prediction from Emma that would likely come true. And are you happy with that possibility? Gabriel asked. Very happy. I'm going to be the most loving big sister in the world. And I'll teach my little brother or sister to talk to Mom Sarah. Through drawings too. When they finally returned home now, officially the home of the Anderson Castle family, Gabriel paused at the front door to observe the colonial facade that had witnessed so much pain and now radiated renewed happiness. Sarah, he whispered to the stars above Savannah, thank you for everything, for loving me in such a deep way that included teaching me to love again, for giving Emma the gift of seeing beyond what the eyes can see, for bringing Marina into our lives, for creating something beautiful and lasting from your own departure. Do you think she can hear? Marina asked, wrapping her arm around her husband's waist. I'm sure she can, and I'm sure she's smiling. Emma, already in her favorite pajamas, appeared at the bedroom window. Dad, Marina! Come see! They rushed upstairs, concerned, but found Emma pointing. In the garden, where the dogwoods were blooming out of season, creating a shower of purple petals under the full moonlight. It's Mom Sarah's wedding gift, Emma explained with absolute ease. She made the flowers bloom today especially for you, Gabriel, Marina. And Emma stood by the window watching the improvised spectacle of nature, each knowing in their hearts that some loves are so deep that they transcend even death, becoming constant blessings for those who remain. And so, in the colonial house on Maple Street in Savannah, a new family settled in for their first official night together, protected by the love of a woman who had discovered the most perfect form of immortality, to live forever in the happiness of those she loved. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and if you watched until here, comment I watched until here, and share your opinion about this story. Oh, and don't forget to watch the next video that appears on the final screen. It's very exciting.